Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Video Review with No Bones About It, Puppy Day School. And we today are going to do sort of a combination. Instead of getting individual training links for each puppy, I'm going to do one training link and we're going to discuss some similar concepts. So before I get to sort of the obedience tasks at hand, which are going to be recall specific, I want to just talk a little bit about kind of, and I've mentioned this to several of you, that the energy of this group is really, it's really high, and that translates a lot of times into a lot of adrenaline, a lot of rougher play that sometimes then escalates and borders on slightly inappropriate. And I want to be very clear that I do not think any of these guys have any aggression in them per se, but what we don't want to have happen is for their skills as they're developing as puppies and into adolescence to become kind of that bully, which as they grow up and they encounter other dogs can be perceived as aggressive, and then other dogs kind of come at them. So what we really want to try to do is just keep that energy level at a place where we think it's manageable. And that's another time when hand targeting is huge for you. So what I'll do a lot of times, and maybe we can kind of see this in action, is these puppies will escalate, things get a little bit out of hand, and I want to bring it down a notch. I might have, hi, what are you doing? Louie, yes, touch. So I might, one of the ways, again, that I can diffuse the situation is by having a puppy come over, Louie, yes, touch, touch, and give them something else to do, and then once I get their attention and pull them away out of the group, do some really quiet, slow behaviors, like just treating in a sit, but doing multiple times in a row and doing it in a slow and controlled manner so that the puppies are bringing things down a couple notches. So think about that as if you're out and about and you feel like your puppy's really getting, if things are escalating, or even if you're in your house and you have kids and things are getting a little bit too crazy, think about doing the hand target, calling the puppy over, having him do that stationary sit for a couple minutes, just to sort of mellow them out a little bit. All right, so let's talk about recall. I've got my buddy here, Louie, and we're going to describe some of the ways that we can practice solo, and then I'm going to have Melissa, who's here with me today, come out, and I'm going to show you some, it's raining trees. We're going to show you some ways that you can practice if you've got 2 or more people. So we've been working on name games since day one. Name game, as we know, is the foundation for all of our skills, but it really is also training the beginnings of come when called. Even though we're not utilizing the word come in the beginning, our expectation is that the dog come to us and find out what we need. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to toss a little treat down here. Go find it. Good job, Louie. Yes, good job. So the dog's already theoretically doing the basis of a recall, even though we're not adding that word in the beginning. So now all we're doing is we're going to start adding that recall word in once I think the dog is going to be successful, and I'm going to come back to that point in a minute. Here we go. Go find it. I gain a little distance. Louie, come. Yes, good job. Now, what we know about dog training is it's all about repetition and high rates of success. So what does that mean? I think one of the biggest problems with teaching come is that people start using that word from day one, and your success rate is not high, meaning the puppies has no idea what that word means. They're off running around the living room or playing with a toy, and you're yelling at them. Maybe not yelling, maybe you're utilizing your recall word come, and the puppy isn't doing it. So they start hearing that word with no idea how to respond. So we want to make sure that we get a ton of repetition in when we know that the dog is going to make the right choice. Well, how do I know? number one, I make sure the puppy's engaged with me by using their name game. So if I, let's see, tossed a treat and I said the puppy's name and they didn't even look at me, I'm certainly not going to add my recall word come at that point. If the puppy looks at me and starts to move towards me, then for sure I can add that word come. The other thing I can do is I can use a lot of body language. I can utilize the fact that dogs have an instinct to chase a moving target. So if I start moving away from the dog's instinct is to follow me or move towards me. So I'm going to utilize that as well to help make sure that I'm getting the correct response. So again, let's take a look. Louie, ready? Go find that. Louie! Okay, so he's looking for another treat. So I didn't add the word yet. Yes, come! Good boy! Now I'm not adding a lot of distance because I'm trying to stay in view of the camera here right now. But that was a good example of I tossed a treat, I said his name, and he was busy because he thought there was another one over there. So I stopped, I waited. When he turned, I gave him my marker word yes, so he knows, okay, he knows something good's gonna happen because he heard that marker word, and then I added the word come and I moved away from the puppy. So takeaways for recall are a lot about what you don't want to do. So you don't want to use your recall word if you don't think you're going to get the right response. Well, what do I do if I need the puppy to get closer to me? Okay, I don't have to use the word come. I could, hi! I could clap my hands, I could make a kissy noise, I could squeak a squeaky toy. There's a lot of things I could do to encourage the puppy to move towards me if I'm uncertain as to what their choice is going to be. Again, we're shooting for really high levels of success when we practice and use that word come. I want to think about a couple steps after the dog gets to me. So we all know at this point, the dog gets to me, they get something great. Cookies, yay, awesome. But for recall, it's not enough to just give like one little treat, okay? I would come up with the best treats that you can think of when you're using the word come. I try to use things I don't use for any other type of training except recall. I want that dog to think coming to me is the greatest thing that they could possibly do. And then I want to think about what happens once the dog gets to me and I've given them their treat. Am I putting on a leash and sticking them in their crate? Am I bringing them back in the house and leaving for the day? I need 2 or 3 steps after what happens with that recall to still be advantageous for that dog. I still need them to think that word come always leads to good things. And that's not just, oh, you get a quick cookie and then it's over. They are very good at what we call chaining events together. So if we're always using come to get the dog to come inside and they love playing outside, it's great that I gave them a cookie, but if they then lose the opportunity to play outside, they're going to choose very quickly to not respond. So always think about that as well when we're talking about recall. All right, so now that we've talked about some of the things that we don't want to do when we're incorporating the word come, let's talk about ways to practice. I've already mentioned coming up with the best possible treats you can. Well, treats are cool, but if your dog likes toys, the other thing that I really like to do is I like to find a special toy that I only use when I'm practicing recall. The only time my dog, it has to clearly be something they really like. So I'm going to find that thing, maybe order a couple different toys, play around, see which thing your dog seems really amped up about, and the only time I'm going to bring it out is when we practice recall. What I'm trying to do is create drive and enthusiasm so that that dog comes in with a lot of speed. So toys can be an excellent way to practice and reinforce that particular behavior. So if we're using toys the same way that we use our treats, we don't want to have them dangling in front. There's a difference between a reward and a bribe. A bribe is I have to show the dog the thing in order to get the behavior. Okay, that's not what we want to do because then we never get rid of the bribe. I want to use it as a reward, which means I've gotten the correct behavior and then that awesome thing happens. Okay, so that way the dog, eventually we can wean off of that reward. They still perform the behavior because they don't have to see it. I'm gonna just toss something and get her a little bit farther away. Go find that. And then I'm gonna squeaky my toy. Hello, Junebug, come! That's like the worst. I love when like you practice something in a video and they're just like, whatever. All right, that was not what we want. We're gonna edit that out. Let's. Oh my goodness. What is that? What is that? Oh. Let's go. Let's find that. Let's find that. Junebug! Come! Good girl. Good girl. So yummy. So many yummy treats. Let's try this again. Ready? Go find it. Junebug! Come! Good girl! Very nice. Okay, so what I've edited out were about 3 or 4 repetitions that didn't go very well. Again, what I'm trying to create is enthusiasm for coming when called. Junebug happens to have kind of a more like mellow, not really intensive drive when we work. So I'm not surprised that what happened when we practiced the first couple times was utter lack of enthusiasm. And so with a dog like this, I gotta work harder to figure out. I probably need to have some different treats that we haven't tried out with her before. I finally got her amped up a little bit, but I had to do a little bit of kind of what I would call off-camera work, just doing a bunch of treating and talking to her in a really excited voice. And then I did a couple treat tosses. So treat toss is simply just tossing one less exciting, like a piece of kibble, hey, pop, 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 away from me, gaining some distance, and then saying her name, Junebug, yes, come! And then backing away from the dog, hopefully creating a little bit of excitement and drive. And very good, that was excellent. So each dog is gonna be different in what really motivates them, just like people. So we're gonna move on to our third puppy today. So Kona and I are gonna just do a little bit of warm-up stuff. Again, think about anytime you're working on a more advanced skill like recall, doing some exercises that they're really good at. So I'm gonna do some little name game stuff. Kona! Yes, good job. Good. They know this marker word, yes. When they hear it, yes. Okay, when they hear that word, we get lots of tail wagging and excitement. If you're not incorporating your marker word, your dog is gonna not know if they're doing the right thing. So make sure, if you're doing name game, that you've got their name, you get eye contact, you use that marker word, and then add their recall. All right, so I've added Jessie to our mix here. We can do a little bit of practicing with both of them out here. They don't always each have to get rewarded if we're working on something, but I was talking about doing some warm-up exercises. So here with Kona, we're doing a little hand targeting. Touch. Yes. Kona. Yes. Touch. Yes. It's actually great for them to have to practice around other dogs and focus around other dogs. Touch. Okay, if it's too distracting, touch. Good, good. So we'll do a little bit of warm-up stuff, and then maybe a little distraction with our toy. Go find it. Oh my goodness! Kona, come! Yes, good job. Now, a lot of times I'm going to add that collar grab, just that reach out and grab the collar as the dog comes to me. All right. So what does that look like? Pop, pop, pop. Go find it. Kona, yes, come. So grab the collar, hold on to it as you deliver the reward, and then you can release. In real world, I would spend a lot more time rewarding this dog. I would do lots of praise, and we'd probably do some tug, Again, I try to speed things up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to hide this, and I'm going to do a little recall with both of these guys. Ready? Go find it. Okay, get them out of sight here, and then... Jessie! Come! Yes, good girl. So she gets to me. Hi, we can both play. She wasn't that excited about the toy because I think there's a couple more treats that she left behind over there. Yes, good girl. But she could come in. We could do a little bit of tug, tug, tug. So last thing we're going to do are a couple recalls back and forth so you can sort of see what that looks like if you have multiple people. It's a great way to practice because remember, we are trying to get as many successful repetitions of having that dog come to us. And the best way to do that is to set up scenarios where the dog hears it so many times, the end result is perfect, and they get tons of rewards. So, so multiple people can be really helpful with it. We've got a lot of puppies here, and now I don't have anybody kind of managing the rest of them. So we'll see how this goes. We have a couple off camera, a couple in camera. So again, I don't need to use both of their names. They're both probably going to run back and forth and chase each other, but that's okay. I can reward both of them when we come in. We'll kind of alternate their names as we're practicing. Say hi. This is Melissa. Melissa's my assistant, and so we're going to be, again, saying the puppy's name. When they look at us, we're going to say yes, and then we're going to add the word come. If we don't get a lot of movement or fast movement, we'll probably back away, so we might get out of camera a little bit, but let's just kind of see how this goes. All right, so I'll start. Jessie, come! Up, 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 up. Yes. Good. All right, so let me explain sort of what happened there. I said her name. She started to move towards me, so I gave her marker word, and then I added the word come. But then she got distracted by Kona. Total real world scenario. Happens all the time. Dog starts bolting in towards you, and then, oh my God, a bird, a butterfly, whatever it is, a leaf, and they go off in a different direction. A lot of times, the initial human reaction is then to start trying to chase the dog or move towards the dog. You really need to start practicing booking away even faster from that. So what I did was I tried to refocus Jessie. I just did a quick like, boop, 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 boop. I patted my legs and I kept moving away from her, and she finally turned back towards me, and I kind of we always want to try to save the recall. We really want to try to finish with the dog doing the right thing if we can. All right? So, Jessie! Okay, now if you got two people, and if you can see this, this is perfect. I'm just trying to get her attention, but she's obsessed because she knows that Melissa has treats and she's been getting treated. So what I might do is come in here, hi. Just lure her away for practice purposes. Okay, and then I'm going to have you practice with Jessie again. Oh, Jessie! All right, well, sometimes we don't even need to add the recall word because the dog gets the game. Jessie! Boop, 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 boop. So Melissa turns her back because I don't want the dog trying to ignore me. So I'm going to close the distance a little bit. Jessie! Yes, come! Good girl! Very nice! Good girl! All right, now go! Jessie! Come, good girl! Good. Now I'm going to try to get Kona. Kona! Yes! Come! One of the things that I think is the hardest part about having a person train your dog that isn't a professional dog trainer, i.e. you guys, is that you don't really, it's easy for me to tell you what to do, but it's really hard to figure out what to do when things go wrong. So again, if for recall, my number one thing I would suggest is just don't use your word come until that dog is already moving towards you. And then become a cheerleader. Clap your hands, make kissy noises. I don't want you repeating come though. I don't want you doing come, 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 come. When you say the dog's name, come. And then once they're moving, tell them how great they're doing. That will keep them moving towards you. So let's see if I can, again, get these guys. Kona! Up, 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 up. Yes! Okay, too short of a distance. chance to add come. That's all right. The dog looked at me and moved towards me. We'll just call that a name game. Still reinforcing the dog moving towards me. So anything that we're doing to reinforce that movement in is positive, even if I don't have time enough to get that recall word. All right, let's see if we can. Sometimes you can't just come out and show a dog a toy. They're like, whatever, you know. You gotta be interactive with it. Make it fun. So with longer toys, I want to make them get on the ground like a snake and move it around and bounce it and do things like that. Again, here we go, a little bit of rough housing. Louie! Louie! Touch! June-bug touch. Okay, so you can see, perfect example. These guys escalate in like 2 seconds. So always trying to kind of dissipate that behavior. So now we're just going to try to add a couple recall. I'm going to put the toy down because that might have been part of the problem. So go ahead and just pick one of these guys and call them, see what they do. Louie! Louie! Yes! Come! Good boy! Yeah! Good job! Right, so treats, lots of praise. June-bug! June-bug! Oh, I didn't get a June-bug. I got it. I'm going to treat for that. I didn't call Louie in particular, but again, let's see what June-bug! Boop, boop, boop. Yes! Come! Very good! Good job! Oh! One more thing we can try with 2 people. We call it a restrained recall. Okay? Restrained recall just means that I'm going to hold on to the dog while the other person says the puppy's name and tries to really amp them up before I release them. Again, that creates a lot of drive when you prevent a dog from doing something they want to do. So go ahead and say Louie's name. Louie! 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 Yes! Come! Good boy! So a lot of times I'll just put my arm around the puppy. I let him tug a couple times so I feel like he's really wanting to go, and then I'll release him and that my partner will say the word come. So let's try it with our little buddy here. Come here. Doesn't work with every dog. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. All right. June-bug. June-bug. Come here. June-bug, ready? June-bug. Yes. Come. Good girl. Good. So for her, that little gallopy, nice, light behavior, happy, that's like super good drive for her. So maybe that's something that we integrate. And the other thing, if you've got kids, this is an awesome way to get them involved and do like a round robin thing. Have each kid have a different type of treat. Make sure they all know the rules. If someone else is calling the dog, they have to turn their back and not look at the puppy. And you can supervise as a parent, but it's a fun way to get them to be involved in the training process. So lots to think about for recall, and gosh, the last thing I'm going to say is people always ask me, how long till I have a perfect recall? I used to work with a trainer, a mentor of mine, who would say a year, just because there's no, just to answer, because there is no magical number. I've had dogs that can do a solid off-leash recall at 4 months and never have a problem. I've had my own personal dogs that I've worked with up until 2-3 years till I felt like they were really trustworthy off-leash. So the key is keep working with them, shoot for really high rates of success, and it will come. All right, have a great weekend, you guys. We'll see you next week.